What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to another day. I'm going to title this Car Rides with Manny. And my main goal out of this is just to answer questions. I was trying to figure out my schedule in terms of jumping on camera and being able to talk. And realistically, the best time for me to be able to do this is actually in my car. I always think the car is like the university or the place you can get the most done. Like, I can listen to podcasts, I can watch videos on YouTube, I update myself on like current news, current events. So it's definitely one of those places where I can get a lot done. So I realized, I'm like, you know what? I can probably just shoot a YouTube video while I'm driving on my way to places, and boom, Car Rides with Manny became. All right, so today what I'm going to be talking about is things that you get wrong. Particularly, I'm going to talk from a man's perspective, so obviously I'm going to say things that men get wrong when they're strength training at 40 plus, okay? I'm 41. I just turned 41 last month. We're in August of 2026. And the thing that a lot of people get wrong, I've been a personal trainer now professionally for roughly about, let's say 14 years. I do consultations at this point now. What I do is I consult people that are looking for trainers, and then I get them to train with people. So, and then that's what I do. So I do a lot of assessments. I do a lot of beginning. I'm the beginning guy. I'm the guy that you meet in the beginning of your journey, and I hook you up with trainers. Okay. So on top of that, I am a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer for a very long time. I still actively work on my skill set of training. So here's the biggest thing that men get wrong when it comes down to strength training right now. At 40 plus, you're still doing a bro split. And I'm going to say this like this. There's nothing wrong with the bro split. But what's wrong, so let me just unpack this. I had a guy yesterday, and I'll just give you the example. The guy yesterday said, I want to learn what to do. I want to learn my form. I want to learn all that stuff. I'm like, amazing. I can definitely help you. But so I showed him the constraint. The constraint that we have is an hour. Within the next hour, I'm going to guarantee you this. I will not be able to show you all the different form corrections there are. I will not be able to show you all the different things, the way that you should be programming or exercising. And then I showed him, I wrote down the program for him. And the program that I wrote was the basic mobility, stability, mechanical primer, neuro primer, a squat pull, hinge push, lunge carry, finisher, zone 2, zone 3, zone 2 cardio, 45 minutes twice per week, right? Interchange day 1, day 2, and generally speaking, that's how you want to train when you're in your 40s. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, do you understand what any of this means, what I just said? And then I added, there are 3 different planes of motion that you're looking at when you're putting together your workout programming. There's sagittal, frontal, and transverse planes. So like when you're putting down workout programming, there are movement patterns, and then there are beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then there's sagittal, frontal, and transverse planes of motion. So when I'm putting together programming, the first thing I have to do is assess you, kind of figure out what's happening in your body, and then I put together that program for that. But I'm like, that's not going to happen in 1 hour. And it was very hard for him to understand that. And so I gave him the analogy of this. I said, there's a brick wall in front of us. I said, imagine this brick wall was just one slab of brick, and each brick, you now need to get a knife or a carver and carve the pattern, right? The pattern of the brick wall. How long do you think that would take? When I gave him that analogy, he realized that it'll take a long time. I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, what you're asking me to do is not about if I can or can't. I can, but you need to understand the constraint of time that we currently have. And in order for me to actually do my job, you're going to need to actually hire me on. So what's the number one thing that you want to figure out today if you're not looking at continuing? And my big thing is that I don't try and convince people to buy training and like, you need to get a personal trainer. My job's not to convince you to get a personal trainer. If you get a good coach, that's it. If you're looking for a good coach, get a good coach. Can you tell someone's a good coach? They're not going to try and get you to do things right away. They're going to do a lot of assessments first, and understand who you are, do a lot of goal setting, understand who you are before they go off to the races, right? The idea is this: as a coach, you want to understand your client, you want to understand their motivations, you understand their everything about them first, what intrinsically motivation, what is extrinsic motivations, and then you want to be able to challenge them. But you don't want to just be like, all right, you need a personal trainer? All right, I'm here. I'll give you some squat, bench, deadlift. And that's powerlifting. That's very easy. And I say easy, I mean like it's easier to program for powerlifters because it's revolved around squat, bench, deadlift. Now, in terms of which type of or style of training you'll utilize, whether it's wave periodization or linear periodization or undulating periodization, that's a whole different matter. But for the most part, it's very simple to utilize. But what I'm talking about more is that when someone comes in and they say that I've been doing push-pull legs, or I've been doing, basic pro split. Then I say, okay, cool. So you're doing push-pull legs. He's like, yeah. So you're pretty much doing a chest day, a back day, and a leg day. Yes. And you're training 3 times a week. Yes. And then I ask them, do you want to be a bodybuilder? No. Okay, cool. Why are you training like that? And they're generally like, they're perplexed. They don't know why they're training like that. And there's nothing wrong with training like that. I need you to understand this. I'm not attacking the push-pull legs, bro split style of training, chest back, arms, legs. Not attacking that. What I look at is specificity to the client and to the person. So when we're looking at specificity to the client or to the person, what we have to pay attention to is this: frequency. How often are you willing to train? So number one is frequency. Ready some pen. Number one is frequency. How often are you willing to train? So that is how much time are you actually willing to put in the gym. If you tell me that you're only willing to come in twice a week, guess what? Push-pull leg. I'm not going to be doing push-pull legs. You know why I'm not doing push-pull legs? Because you're only willing to come in twice a week. Why would I separate your body parts when the stimulus of exercise is not going to adapt enough with a beginner client? And once again, we're talking about beginner general population clients, not someone that is enhanced on any sort of, they're not enhanced and they're not training with enough intensity. They've never trained with intensity before. I'm talking about straight up, you're new to the gym, brand new. At that point, why would I separate your body parts? Because social media told me so. And so there's a lot of trainers who are like that, and it's a whole other thing I got to talk about on my other channel. Yesterday I had a consultation with a young lady who told me about a horrific story with a personal trainer, and so that's a whole other story. Okay, so, but the biggest thing in terms of working with coaches and working with trainers and working with the goal is to figure out your frequency. Okay, what's your frequency? Whether you work with a trainer or not, it's irrelevant to me. What is this? So get a pen and paper, write down your frequency. How many times a week are you willing to come to the gym? So I would say this: 2 is your bare minimum. Like when we're looking at like, what's the minimum amount of time I should be able to come to the gym? Twice in a week. Now, here's the caveat: come twice a week. Don't expect like all the results in the world that are going to happen because of you're putting in 2 times a week. Slow and steady wins the race at that point. Okay. All right. All right. Cool. So then the way I would program or put together a program for twice a week would be like this. I would do what I just talked about before. I'll put it right here. I'll put like a picture of it. That way I don't have to say it again. And then I would just do day 1, day 2. That's it. That's how I would train someone twice a week. And then I would switch between zone 3 and zone 4 cardio. And then I would ask them, is there any other time that you would be able to do zone 2 cardio? I need you to do at least twice a week. Zone 2 cardio is 60% to 70% of heart rate max for a 45-minute time frame. Once again, doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you go on a Stairmaster, treadmill, incline walking, walk around your neighborhood, but is there any way you can do that? I'd ask them to do that. And if the answer is no, then so be it. That's what's happening. If it's 3 times a week, what I would do is I would now go day 1, day 2, and then day 3 would be a hybrid. It would be a giant set of day 1 and day 2. That's how it interchange the day 1, day 2, and day 3. That way it seems very fun. If they're willing to train 4 times, then I would do day 1, day 2, day 3, what I just described. Plus, in day 4, what I would utilize is some sort of zone 3, zone 4 work, or I would interchange the zone 2 cardio for that day. That way you're utilizing your fat loss and you're keeping your heart and lungs healthy. And then if it's 5 days a week, I would just say train 3 days a week of strength training with 2 times a week of cardio. And then if you go 6 days a week, then I would be like, okay, now we can start talking about separating your muscle groups, because now we can train the stimulus twice. Generally speaking, from each muscle group, you have roughly about 24 to 48 hours of response time or of recovery time. So where the body can actually recover. And once the body recovers, then from there, you can actually go back again, right? So like, example, if I do chest on Monday, I should be able to do my chest again by Wednesday, Thursday. So that's ideally when I should be able to do my chest again, because I've had 48 hours of recovery. The stimulus of exercise generally takes roughly about 24 to 48 hours of recovery. You can train your muscles every 24 to 48 hours, roughly. Like this is all like this is science. This is not as, I want to say this is not as subjective, but it's more of pay attention to the way you're feeling. But for most people that come into the gym that I meet, that you're 40 plus and you're brand new to fitness, I wouldn't suggest training 6 times a week. And the reason why I wouldn't suggest training 6 times a week is because I would suggest, here's what I would suggest. Before you say, what the hell? I would suggest this. Figure out, number one, your frequency. That's the number one thing. How often are you actually willing to come in? Based off your lifestyle, based off of your what's currently happening in your life. You got to take into account, if you have a family, your family time. You got to take into account, if you have a job, your work. There's 68 hours in a week. If you go to church, you got to calculate that. So now the question is, how much time can you actually put in when life is super busy? Don't think about it when life's not busy, because life is always busy. You might go through patches where it's not busy, but it is always busy. So the question now isn't, oh, how much time do you have when you're not busy? The question is, how much time do you have when you are busy? Put your calendar at max, and where are you going to fit the gym? And if the idea of going to the gym is twice per week for you, amazing, that's great. It's good. And I say it's good because the fact is, you're fitting it in as a lifestyle factor. And it's not about, like, don't get lost in the sauce of like, I have to look a certain way. I think that when it comes down to looks, it's something that we talk about in, I want to say on social media, but we talk about it more in in the spaces. Like, we're told that we need to look a certain way. We're told that we need to be a certain way. And yes, it's more attractive. There's something called the Vitruvian image. And yes, it's all a science and math thing. I'll drop like a whole thing about it right there, description about it right there. But it's the whole thing of like what's appealing to the eyes. And I get it. But guess what? If you're balancing life, kids, school, work, business, consulting, whatever it is that you're doing, training is supposed to be added onto that. It's not supposed to be all of that. So unless your goal is to become a pro level bodybuilder, powerlifter, strongman, and this is what you're going to be doing and you're going to make money from it, I would highly suggest don't put it as like, this is my priority. When I ask people on a scale of 1 to 10 how important is this to them, they say like 7, 8. There's more things important. It's a 10. The reason why it's a 10, because it's a foundation that should be to your life. It's the same idea that you brush your teeth every day, you work out. It's not that hard. You have to think about it as a behavior versus thinking about it as some event that you're doing and something that I'm becoming. No, you're not becoming. You are. You are a person that's a fit person. You are a person that can actually do this whole journey of fitness. Anyways, that's it for today. That was Car Rides with Manny. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week. My goal is to drop switch the language. I'm going to be dropping weekly videos every week talking about something different when it comes to men, fitness, health, recovery, understanding. But just remember, the number one thing that you want to do, what's the number one thing? Figure out your frequency. How frequent are you willing to come to the gym? Once you figure that out, life gets a lot easier. Put it in your calendar. What gets scheduled gets done. What gets scheduled gets done. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.